One of the hardest moments in the Christian walk isn't just when you fall into sin. It's about what comes afterwards. Because after the mistake, after the guilt hits, after you pray that same prayer again, God, forgive me, I won't do it again, and then you mess up anyway, that's when the enemy starts whispering to you, you're too weak, you're worthless, God is done with you. And that weakness feels very heavy. You're tired of fighting the same battles over and over. You're tired of feeling like you're the only one struggling. You're tired of wondering if God's patience has just completely run out. Listen, I get it because I felt that way too. And maybe that's where you are right now. But listen, as the last video in our Back After Sin series, we've talked about guilt, we've talked about forgiveness, and we've also talked about coming back after falling. But what about when you're still weak? What about when you're trying to continue to move forward, but you feel like you've got nothing left? That's where God's promises step in. So today I want to talk to you heart to heart about how these key promises actually keep us going when we've got nothing left in the tank. So please stick with me because we're going to be walking through what it really looks like to lean on God's promises even when you feel weak. My name is Rod Brown and I'm a faith-based content creator. And you know something? I used to think grace was like this reset button you can hit after you've sinned. Like, okay, I messed up. Let me ask for forgiveness. God hits reset. Now I just try harder, right? But over time, I learned something. Grace isn't just about forgiveness. Grace is about strength. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 through 10, Paul wrote that God told him this, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Therefore, I will gladly boast all the more about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may reside in me. So I take pleasure in weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and in difficulties for the sake of Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And I know that verse sounds like a verse that we've all heard before, but please think about it like this. Paul begged God to take away what he called a thorn. God didn't take it away. He didn't make Paul stronger in himself. He gave Paul grace. And that grace means this, even when you feel like you've got nothing left, especially after you've sinned, God is enough. There was a time I was so stuck in my sin and so weak that I thought, man, what's the point of even trying? I'm just gonna fail again. I remember sitting in silence, not even praying because I felt like I was wasting God's time and even my own time in prayer. But one day this thought hit me. The fact that I even care about this right now is proof that God hasn't given up on me. If he was done with me, I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even say my prayers. I wouldn't even go to church. I wouldn't even worry about what God even thinks of me. That right there is grace. And some of you need to hear that right now. The very fact that you're even watching this video, the very fact that your sin bothers you means God's grace is still working in you. His power shows up right in that weakness. So if you know God's grace is what's kept you going, then let me know in the comment section down below. Let's be honest, sin doesn't just make you feel guilty. It makes you tired, spiritually exhausted. And that's when the enemy wants to just swoop on in and convince you you're powerless and you'll never change. But here's the promise. God says he gives strength to the weary. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 29 through 31 tells us this. He gives strength to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Youths may become faint and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary. They will walk and not faint. Not to the already strong, not to the people who already got it all together, but to the weary. And that means you qualify. It reminds me of seasons in my life where I was just running on fumes, trying to do the right things, trying to stay consistent, but I was honestly exhausted on the inside. I'd wake up and feel like I don't even have the energy to just fight this anymore. And then in those seasons, I realized something. The strength God gives isn't about making me feel like I'm Superman. It's about helping me take the next step. Sometimes his strength feels like soaring like an eagle. Other times it feels like just getting through the day without giving up. And that's enough, because strength doesn't always mean spectacular. Sometimes it just means survival. So if you're weary today, don't beat yourself up. You're exactly the kind of person God says he strengthens. And if you're weary and you're asking God for strength, just drop these words in the comment section down below. Renew me, Lord. That's your prayer for today. And here's the last promise, and it ties it all together. Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, we all should know that verse by heart because we hear this verse all the time. It's on t-shirts, coffee mugs, tattoos. But Paul wasn't talking about winning games or breaking records. He was talking about surviving seasons. He said, I know how to live when I have a lot, and I know how to live when I have nothing. He knew hunger. He knew suffering. He knew what it was like to just feel weak. And the secret wasn't Paul's willpower. It wasn't his religious discipline. The secret was Jesus Christ. And that's where the whole series lands. Because listen, you're not going to beat sin by willpower alone. You're not going to get strong enough on your own. You don't have to, because Christ is enough. So when you feel too weak to pray, Christ is enough. When you feel like you will never ever change, remember, Christ is enough. When shame tells you God's done with you, Christ is enough. So I want you to say this with me loud right now. Through Christ, I can. Not me, not through my own strength. Through Christ, I can. So here's where I want to land this entire series. We've spent these weeks talking about what happens after sin, what happens with the guilt, what happens with the shame, the fear that you've just gone too far, the struggle to hear God's voice again. And today, we're going to end it with this. God's promises aren't just words on a page. They are life support when you're weak. His grace is enough when you failed. His strength shows up when you're weary. His presence in Christ is enough to carry you even when you want to give up. This series was never meant to make you feel bad for falling. It was about reminding you that you don't have to stay there on your own. You can get back up. You can come back to God. And when you're too weak to hold on, His promises will hold for you. So if you're watching this right now feeling like, I don't know if I can just keep going, let me say this. You don't have to do it on your own strength. God is with you. God is for you, and His promises are unshakable. Family, I want to thank you for walking with me through this Back After Sin series. I know some of these topics weren't easy to hear, and I know some of you have wrestled on your own. Some of you have cried. Some of you saw yourselves through these messages. But that's why we do this, because God is not finished with you. Sin does not get the last word. Shame doesn't write your story. Weakness doesn't disqualify you. Even Psalms chapter 73 verse 26 says, my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart, my portion forever. So if you're ready to walk forward in God's promises, we have to declare God as our strength. And here's the summary I want you to carry after all 6 of these videos. Your sin is not greater than His grace. Your weakness is not greater than His strength. And your past is not greater than His promises. So I hope this Back After Sin series has helped inspire at least one of you to keep walking, to keep trusting, to keep coming back, because God's not done with you yet. Thanks for watching so much, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Be blessed.